Story 1.
I never thought I would see him again. David was my ex-boyfriend, the one who broke my heart and made me feel worthless. We dated for 2 years, and I thought he was the one. He was charming, handsome, and smart. He always knew what to say and how to make me laugh. He was everything I ever wanted. But then David changed. He became possessive, jealous, and controlling. He started to check my phone, my emails, and my social media accounts. He accused me of cheating on him with every guy I talked to. He isolated me from my friends and family. David made me feel guilty for wanting to have a life outside of him. He was no longer the man I fell in love with. I tried to break up with him several times, but he always begged me to stay. He said he loved me more than anything and that he would change. He said he was sorry for hurting me and that he would never do it again. David cried, pleaded, threatened. He made me feel sorry for him, and I gave him another chance. And another, but he never changed. He only got worse. He became violent, abusive, and cruel. He hit me, he choked me, he threw me against the wall. He called me names, he insulted me, he humiliated me. David made me feel scared, helpless, and hopeless. He was no longer the man I loved. He was a monster. I finally gathered enough courage to leave him for good. I packed my bags, I blocked his number, I moved to another city. I started a new life, a new job, a new relationship. I was happy, I was free, I was safe. I thought I had escaped him. I thought I had moved on. But I was wrong. David found me. He sent me messages, he called me, he showed up at my door. He said he still loved me and that he wanted me back. He said he was sorry for everything, and that he had changed. David said he would do anything to make me happy, and that he would never hurt me again. He lied, he manipulated, he obsessed, he made me feel terrified, angry, and disgusted. He was no longer my ex. He was my nightmare. I tried to ignore and avoid him, but he was persistent. He was determined to get me back, or to make me pay. He was not going to give up. He was not going to let me go. Night, David broke into my apartment. He was armed, he was drunk, he was furious. He said he had come to take me with him or to kill me if I refused. He said he had nothing to lose and that he would rather die than live without me. He said he loved me more than life itself and that he would prove it to me. I managed to escape from him and I locked myself in the bathroom. I heard him banging on the door, shouting and cursing. David said he would break it down and that he would kill me if I didn't come out. He said he loved me more than anything and that he would show me how much. He sounded insane. He sounded desperate. He sounded dangerous. He made me feel terrified, panicked, and hopeless. He was no longer human. He was a beast. I looked around, searching for something, and found a pair of scissors. I decided to defend myself and end this nightmare. I waited for him to break the door and enter the room. I was ready. He finally managed to smash the door open and reach it towards me. He had a knife in his hand and a crazed look in his eyes. He said he was going to kill me and then himself. He said he loved me more than anything and that he would show me how much. David was no longer human. He was a beast. I acted quickly and stabbed him in the arm with the scissors. He screamed in pain and dropped the knife. I grabbed the knife and ran past him out of the bathroom. I headed for the front door, hoping to escape, but he was faster. He caught up with me and tackled me to the ground. He tried to take the knife from me, but I held on tight. We struggled for a few seconds until I heard a loud bang. I looked up and saw a police officer standing over us. He had a gun in his hand and a badge on his chest. He said he had received a call from my neighbor, who had heard the commotion and called 911. He had shot him in the leg to stop him from hurting me. He handcuffed him and called for backup. He asked me if I was okay and if I needed medical attention. I said I was fine, but I was in shock. I couldn't believe what had just happened. I couldn't believe I was alive. He took me to his car and drove me to the police station. He said he would take my statement and file a report. He said he would make sure the ex would never bother me again.
Story 2. I never imagined that my relationship with my ex-boyfriend would turn into a horror. But here I am, living through a nightmare that I never saw coming. It all started when we broke up. I thought it was for the best, that we were better off going our separate ways. But my ex had other ideas. He couldn't accept that it was over between us, and he became obsessed with winning me back. At first, it was just constant phone calls and messages, begging me to give him another chance. I tried to be firm and tell him that it was over, but he wouldn't listen. He started showing up unannounced at my apartment, leaving gifts and letters for me. It was unsettling, but I tried to brush it off as him, just not being able to let go. But things took a darker turn when he began to follow me everywhere I went. I would see him lurking around the corner of the house, watching me from a distance. The fear started to creep in, knowing that he was always there, always watching. One night, I woke up to the sound of someone trying to break into my apartment. My heart raced as I realized it was my ex, trying to force his way inside. I called the police, but by the time they arrived, he was gone. They couldn't do anything without concrete evidence of his wrongdoing. I decided to move to another city, hoping that he would lose track of me. I packed my bags, sold my apartment, and bought a one-way ticket to the nearby town. I didn't tell anyone where I was going, except for my closest friends and family. But he found me again. He somehow hacked into my email account and saw my flight confirmation. He booked the same flight and followed me. I didn't notice him at first, until I saw him outside my hotel. He was wearing a disguise, but I recognized his eyes. They were the same eyes that haunted me in my dreams. He smiled at me, a twisted smile that sent shivers down my spine. He said, "Hello, my love. Did you miss me? I've been looking for you everywhere. You can't run away from me. You're mine, and I'm yours. Forever." I felt a surge of panic and anger. I screamed at him, "Leave me alone. You're crazy. You need help. I don't love you. I hate you. Stay away from me." He shook his head. No. You don't mean that. You're just confused. You still love me, I know you do. You just need some time to remember. Come with me. I'll show you how much I love you." He grabbed my arm and tried to drag me with him. I resisted, but he was stronger than me. I looked around, hoping that someone would help me. But no one seemed to notice or care. I felt helpless and hopeless. Then, I saw a police car passing by. I seized the opportunity and shouted, "Help, help! This man is trying to kidnap me. He's my ex-boyfriend and he's been stalking me for months. Please, help me!" The police car stopped and 2 officers got out. They saw the situation and ran towards us. They pulled him off me and handcuffed him. They asked me if I was okay and if I wanted to press charges. I said yes. They took him away while I collapsed on the ground, sobbing. I felt a mix of relief and fear. Relief that he was finally caught and that I was free. Fear that he would somehow escape and come after me again. But he didn't. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison for stalking, harassment, and attempted kidnapping. He was also ordered to undergo psychiatric treatment and to stay away from me for life.
Story 3.
It all started innocently enough, with a whirlwind romance that quickly turned into a nightmare. His name was Mark, and we met at a mutual friend's party. He seemed charming, charismatic even. But as our relationship progressed, I began to see a darker side to him. He became possessive and controlling, always wanting to know where I was and who I was with. At first, I thought it was just his way of showing his love, but it soon became strange. One evening, as I was getting ready for bed, I received a message from an unknown number. It was a picture of me, taken through my bedroom window. My heart raced as I realized that someone had been watching me. I immediately called the police, but without any solid evidence, there was little they could do. From that day on, I lived in constant fear. I changed my locks, installed security cameras, and even took self-defense classes. But no matter what precautions I took, he always seemed to be one step ahead. He would show up at my workplace unannounced, leave disturbing notes on my car windshield, and send me messages filled with threats and insults. I confided in my friends and family, who urged me to leave town and start fresh somewhere else. But the thought of running away and letting him win was unbearable to me. I wanted to fight back to reclaim my life and my sense of security. So I began documenting every interaction, every message, and every incident. I saved screenshots of his texts and emails, took pictures of the notes he left behind, and recorded the dates and times of his unexpected visits. It was exhausting, but I knew that gathering enough evidence would be crucial in ensuring he would be held accountable for his actions. One day, as I was leaving work, I noticed a peculiar mark on my car's windshield. It was a small symbol etched into the glass, a twisted, smiley face. It was his signature mark. I took a deep breath and snapped a picture of the mark. I had finally found something tangible that could potentially link him to these terrifying incidents. With the evidence in hand, I went straight to the police. The detective assigned to my case took the mark seriously and assured me that they would do everything in their power to catch him. They launched an investigation, examining the mark on my car and comparing it to other reported incidents. They discovered that Mark had been targeting other women as well, leaving behind similar marks as a calling card. As the investigation progressed, the police were able to gather enough evidence to arrest him. He was charged with stalking, harassment, and breaking and entering. It was a small victory, but it provided some relief knowing that he would finally face the consequences for his actions. With Mark behind bars, I could finally breathe a sigh of relief. The nightmare was far from over, but at least I had taken a step towards reclaiming my life. I knew it would take time to heal from the trauma, but fortunately, this experience did not break me.
Story 4.
I never thought I would see her again. We broke up 2 years ago, after a tumultuous relationship that lasted for 6 months. She was obsessed with me, and I couldn't handle her jealousy and mood swings. She would call me dozens of times a day, show up at my work unannounced, and accuse me of cheating on her with every woman I talked to. She even threatened to kill herself if I ever left her, but I did leave her, eventually. I couldn't take it anymore. I packed my bags and moved to another city, hoping to start a new life. I changed my phone number, deleted my social media accounts, and cut off all contact with her. I thought I was free of her. Finally. I was wrong. It happened last week, on a Friday night. I was at a bar with some friends having a good time. I noticed a woman staring at me from across the room. She looked familiar, but I couldn't place her. She had long blonde hair, blue eyes, and a slender figure. She was wearing a red dress that hugged her curves. She smiled at me, and I winked at her. I decided to go talk to her. Maybe she was someone I knew from work, or a friend of a friend. I excused myself from my friends and walked over to her. She greeted me with a hug and a kiss on the cheek. "Hi, I'm Anna," she said. "You're Tom, right?" I nodded, confused. How did she know my name? "I've seen you around," she continued. "You work at the accounting firm on Main Street, don't you?" I felt a chill run down my spine. How did she know where I worked? "Yes, I do," I said, trying to sound casual. "And you? What do you do?" "I'm a nurse," she said. "I work at the hospital nearby." She seemed nice enough, but something was off. I felt like I was missing something important. She leaned in closer to me and whispered in my ear. "I've been watching you for a long time, Tom. I've been waiting for this moment. I've missed you so much." I froze. I recognized her voice. It was her, my crazy ex. She had dyed her hair, changed her appearance, and followed me to my new city. She had stalked me, found out where I worked, and pretended to be someone else. She had tricked me into talking to her. I felt a surge of fear and anger. I pushed her away from me and shouted, "What the hell are you doing here? How did you find me? Hey, leave me alone, you psycho!" She looked hurt, then furious. She grabbed a glass from the table and smashed it. Glass shattered around us as the bar patrons turned to see what was happening. Anna's eyes darted around, her expression a mix of desperation and anger. Without uttering a word, she turned and bolted toward the exit. Pushing her way through the startled crowd, I stood there, shaken and bewildered by the encounter. In the days that followed, I took extra precautions to ensure my safety. I contacted the police, providing them with all the information I had about Anna's actions and her previous threats. They assured me they would investigate the matter and take appropriate measures to protect me. Over time, Anna's presence faded from my thoughts. The fear and anxiety that had once consumed me gradually subsided. I focused on rebuilding my life, surrounding myself with positive influences, and nurturing my own well-being. I moved on, finding solace in new relationships and opportunities, and as for Anna, she became nothing more than a distant memory. I heard that she had moved on as well, finding someone else to fixate on. It was a relief to know that her obsession with me had finally waned.